that he had and to take it into the Armageddon. Magnus needs to win. We've got liftoff. Let's get Yas and Peter in.
Thank you, Tanya. And away they go, Peter, as once again, it's the English, this time not with G3. We saw before one game in a previous set, I've lost count. Bishop B5, Knight C3 had been played. This time, a totally different twist. Queen C2, Peter.
Yeah, Bishop B5 had been played, and it was in fact a game which also Magnus had to win. It was maybe the very first set when Hikaru won that. And look at this, Hikaru is not surprised. He blitzes out everything. He must have prepared this variation for this match.
Remarkable, including this move F7, F5. So A2, A3, the knight hops back. Peter, is something to be said for Bishop B5 now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a very similar to some, I mean, it's basically a reverse Paulsen, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but Magnus makes a Scheveningen out of it, yeah? So
with D2, D3, yeah.
With D3, yeah. So no more Paulsen, it's Scheveningen. A big question, it's always like there in this variation when white goes knight DB5 and then comes back, we are seeing the same theme. The big question, will white play knight takes d because white wants to go b4? You can do it after trading on d5, but then black gets a very strong bishop on d5, or you go bishop d2. Magnus chose knight takes d5.
I like this. It just feels so much more direct. b2, b4, threatening b5, and the e5 pawn is a la tempo. So b4, bishop f6, bishop b2. It feels like that's the right move order, Peter. B4, first of all, step one, Peter.
Yeah, b4 has to be played, of course, by white. This is the whole point. Black has to slow it down with a6. And in this type of positions, the typical way is usually bishop b2, bishop c3, a4, b5, or bishop c3, queen b2. With reverse colors in the Scheveningen, black is always in time to bring the queen to g3, here to g6 via queen e8, and then play bishop d6 and has strong initiative on the king side. However, here I do believe that tempos matter very, very much. So I don't know who will benefit. I mean, it's clear that it's in white's favor, but if he can really claim an advantage, that's another question.
Exactly. So we do see bishop d6. I mean, forcibly reminded of the Garry Kasparov versus Viswanathan Anand match. Vishy took the lead in that match on the white side of the Scheveningen Najdorf. And with that bishop coming to d6, that was the game, what reminded me of that game. And as you prescribed, Peter, bishop c3, intending queen b2, a4, b5, just hitting that pawn on e5 with everything you got.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, also making sure that black was not in time for this queen e8, queen g6. Yeah, Hikaru switches direction. He tries to play strategical, FED, bishop g4 played. He's fighting for the d4 square, and also by signaling that, no, my friend, you don't have free hand with queen b2, because then I might sacrifice the exchange on f3 and get a very, very strong attack. So white has to react to this move with bishop after bishop g4. And if you have to play a defensive move like queen d3, it little bit disbalances white's coordination, but maybe you have to stop bishop takes f3, rook takes f3.
Yeah, I see that also, Peter, just as you've mentioned, as a real danger, because again, Magnus is in a force-winning position, must-win game. If it's a draw, Hikaru Nakamura will win the Magnus Carlsen finals. So I do see perpetual checks or repetitions as being on the agenda. I mean, bishop c4 check followed by knight moves might be okay if the knight could move to g5, but bishop c4 check, king h8, knight d2, knight d4, I'm wondering why did I allow the knight to drop in on d4? So whether you like it or not, I think you're right. Queen d3 looks like you just have to do it.
Yeah, but it takes too much time from Magnus. On the other hand, I believe Magnus does it correctly. I mean, there is 3 seconds increment. So after all, time is not the decisive. If he can now stabilize his position, get the balance, then thinks, and queen a2 check, knight e1. Very interesting, but I don't know if it will work out.
Well, a different approach. He didn't want to play to Black's agenda. So he's hoping for, once again, a good knight versus bad bishop. He's dreaming that Black will play bishop e2, queen e2, knight d4, bishop d4, e d4, and then with the superb blockading knight, knight to d3, Magnus would have every chances of equalizing the game. So that was why Hikaru declined the opportunity to trade bishops. He played bishop d7, but isn't it time to now bring the knight on e1 back into play, Peter?
Yes, definitely White wants to bring it back. The question is where to bring it back. I mean, do you want some knight c2, knight e3, which looks ideal, but then Black will have this knight d4 idea, and after the exchange on d4, the knight would be misplaced. Magnus put the knight on d3, basically indicating that knight cover any kind of knight d4s. Without knight d4, you don't really have an attack going, and I just slowly want to stabilize my position. And after all, let's not forget, Black has a weak pawn on e5. Black's pawn structure is worse, so he has to try to create dynamic compensation for the damaged pawn structure. Queen h4 played.
And by the way, don't forget that in this hyper-aggressive match, f2, f4 could have been a potential issue when the queen was on f6. So Hikaru sidestepped the fact that his e5 pawn was in a bit of a pin. Queen h4, picking up a tempo against e4, rook e8, and wow, it's this game feels really tense, Peter. This is fantastic. It's just been a great pleasure to call the action with you and Tanya, but wow, if the players keep delivering, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm also very, very nervous. I mean, I don't know why I'm so nervous. I simply feel with the players. I mean, whoever will lose, I will really feel very sorry for him. So yeah, I'm very, very tense now, right now, rooting for Magnus maybe to come back. But okay, Hikaru also deserves everything what he has done in this match. So yeah, let's just enjoy the show.
Yeah, they're going toe-to-toe, queen d2. There's a pause here because bishop d3, tickling the rook, just suggesting to the rook that it shouldn't be on the open d file, is one idea. Another idea is to just plant the bishop on c4. Another idea is to potentially double the rooks on the f file now that the f3 pawn is a little bit weakened, and bishop b3 might, let's say, knee-jerk move was Hikaru's choice. Rook c1. And Peter, the clocks, well, Magnus, I want to say, significantly behind. 1 minute is huge, as we know in Armageddon, Peter.
Yeah, well, it's even more than a minute already. On the other hand, his position is stable, so he might be able to make very natural moves. Yeah, Hikaru tries to use that minute by messing things up with a5. There's a hanging bishop on b3,
knight e5, knight e5. Oh, but then there's bishop d4 and there's a rook on f2. Sorry, Peter. I just thought there was a hanging pawn. This one, it doesn't work, but can he play b5? Peter, and then take on e5 because there's this there's knight d4. Oh, geez, Peter, it's super sharp.
Yeah, it's super sharp now. Magnus played the move knight c5, which I don't like at all. Black can take on c5, play a4, get the knight to d4. No, Hikaru takes a b4. That's a big surprise. Okay, anyway, after bishop takes c5, of course, white takes queen takes c5. Pardon me, it's of course the key idea from White. White has to trade the queens, and this case in the endgame, the pawn on e5 might be weak.
Precisely, that's the imbalance that Magnus is striving to create. that the two bishops in an ending and the pawn on e5 weakness, 1 minute to 2 minutes, and the tension keeps ratcheting up.
But I still felt like this option of playing a5, a4 in eventually was a very important resource for black. So I'm not liking this exchange on b4, but in Blitz it's so natural that, okay, let me play instantly ab, then I take on c5, but it might have been a slight inaccuracy.
All right, and we have seen the trade of queens. Knight jumps to d4, king g2, a psychological moment as Magnus invites bishops of opposite color. He's banking on the fact that he will have the dark square bishop, and thanks to the pressure eventually against the pawn on g7, he'll be superior. Is he right, Peter?
Well, I mean, now he goes for the pawn grab. I felt like maybe it's more Magnus style just to defend with rook f2, force that passive position with black after rook e8, and try to play maybe g4, h4, king g3, and just to play that position. But maybe Magnus felt like he can just grab the pawn, but bishop a4, bishop a4, he takes rook b7 or what?
There was a problem with bishop d1 in the position after rook f2. It wasn't so clear.
Yes,
Peter.
Very nice point. Yeah, then I might be even forced to give the exchange.
Right, exactly. But you're right. Bishop c6, rook takes, bishop takes e4. Oh my goodness, what's going on? No, bishop c6, bishop g7. I apologize. Don't want to fall into a double attack tactic, Peter.
Yeah, did maybe Hikaru miss it? Because the point was that actually the bishop was not hanging on b3 thanks to the rook on f3. So there was no real reason that black had to move this rook. But okay, the tension now, Hikaru is below 1 minute. Magnus is ahead on the clock. Wow, what is happening here?
Well, rook takes b7. It looks like it's just over after c5, c6. And I got to think that is a winning position for white. He's done it. Oh, my God. Winning on demand. This would be... this would be remarkable.
Rook e7 runs into bishop d6 now, right?
Sorry.
I mean, rook e7, bishop d6 is a winning trick as well.
Oh, that's a beauty. Please show that to our audience, as that is a marvelous little tactic. Rook e7, bishop d6, skewering a rook, and the pawn is pinned. So that would win an exchange. Hence the move h5, and Magnus to play. And Peter, the pawn on c7 sure looks tempting. What's wrong with grabbing the pawn?
Yeah, but how do you take it? Because if you take with the rook, then I have rook c8 at the end. Bishop takes c7.
Bishop takes c7 is my move, Peter.
Bishop takes c7, yeah. And no tricks, right?
Well, rook c8, then I go back with my bishop f4, and all the rooks are hanging, but that's an extra pawn, and he has done it. And now we've seen, okay, now there's one trick in the position for Hikaru, and that is bishop f4, double question mark, bishop c6 with the Zwischenzug, bishop e4, and that would clinch the tournament victory, the tour victory for Hikaru. But don't go bishop f4, go bishop d6 so that you can tickle the rook on f8, and that should win for Magnus. Peter.
Yeah, but Magnus down to 9 seconds on the clock.
No, 9 seconds.
The position should be winning, but okay, let's not forget about the clock.
The 9 seconds. Did the world champion? There's a rook.
Luckily for him, it doesn't matter now. Yeah, it's just over.
Take the rook on f2 and promote the pawn to a queen. That would have been an easy win. He's played rook c8. And
it's over. Yeah, Magnus bounces back. It's all tied again.